I'm Dan Razakowski with Unifire. We're going to go over the PS16 saw the city is purchasing and go over some of the field maintenance procedures, what you could expect to do out in the field, and actually how to run it, some of the techniques we like to do with it. So, okay, we're going to start out with the chains. We've got two different styles here. You notice that this one here is the saber tooth. It's going to be a more aggressive chain. It's got a skip in between the teeth, and then we're going to go to the cobra chain, which has got twice as many teeth. It does more of a filing action versus a ripping or tearing action. It's not as aggressive. It has less kickback. Lasts about 5 times longer because you have twice as many teeth doing the same job. A little harder to enter into the roof with it than the saber tooth. The saber tooth is going to be much faster, cleans out easier. It does have an anti-kickback link in it, this right here. And then actually it opens up that double raker on it when it comes around the corner or the edge of the bar and cleans the debris out. I'm going to show you now a chain that you use now compared to what we're going to be using on these. The difference in the top plates, you know, you can see right here clearly the new chain is twice as wide or long as the ones that you're currently using. I chose this to show you because this has got some teeth missing in it. When it gets to this point where you're missing more than 6 teeth in a row, it's time to replace the chain. But one thing that you want to keep an eye on is if the chain is dull or not. And a good way to test if the chain is dull or not, you can run your finger across it. If it doesn't grab your skin at all, and it is dull. Another way is take the back of your fingernail and run it on the back edge. If it doesn't leave any marks on your fingernail, then the chain needs to be sharpened. One thing you need to be aware of, the chains will tend to get hot if the chain is tightened too tight, if you do not have enough oil in your oil reservoir and it's not oiling properly, or if the chain gets dull, it will start getting hot and stretching also. So to prevent some of that, we want to keep the chain sharp at all times. Sharp chain cuts a lot better. You get a lot better performance out of it. Easier to do your job. A couple of the other things, if you're looking at the chain for the tightness of it, we're going to loosen the 2 bar nuts here. Then we have a screwdriver head in here. We're going to take and turn that one way or the other, either tighten or loosen the chain. You see now that the chain has a drop in it. We're going to pick up the tip of the bar and we're going to tighten that chain until the bottom rails of this chain touch the top rails of the bar itself, and then we're going to stop no tighter. That's it. Then while we're holding up the front of the bar, we're going to tighten the front bar nut. And then back to the back one. Now if we tighten these up too tight to begin with, we're going to stretch the chain, and the chain is going to stretch from that point on for the life of the chain. So every new chain is going to stretch a little bit the first time, so we recommend doing this procedure first, warming up the saw, and then going back and then tightening it up a little bit. Let the chain cool all the way before you retighten the chain. If you tighten the chain that's hot, then what happens when it cools, it shrinks down the metal and it gets so tight you can't even move it by hand. So keep that in mind. We're going to move the chain. We're going to release the brake. This is the brake release. The chain will not move without pulling this back to you if it's engaged. We're going to move the chain back and forth a couple times. You can see I can pull up the chain real easy. You can see there's just a slight bit of slack in the bottom. That's ideal. So most people usually over tighten these chains, and that destroys your chain. This is your scrinch. It's a combination screwdriver wrench. Take out your spark plug with it. This is your bar nut wrench, and this is your screwdriver. With this, we can pretty much do everything. I want to show you how to change the chain completely. We're going to loosen the bar nuts. We're going to back off the adjustment screw, just about a turn and a half until the chain's loose. We're going to make sure the brake release is released. We're going to pull off the side cover. Now you can see the sprocket, the direction of the chain. We're going to push the bar back and take the chain off the bar. Make sure we're going the right direction. The chain over the sprocket first. Okay, I'm going to put the cover back on it. You notice this pin actually sets into this hole here and adjusts the chain back, or the bar back and forth to adjust the chain. So we might have to back that off a little bit. Get the cover started. Push the bar in, or the cover on the bar. Notice that the pin is in the slot of the bar. Finger tight with the bar nuts. Now we'll take the slack out of the chain with the adjuster. And you're done. A couple other things we want to go over is the air filter. This has a pure foam air cleaner on it, so it cannot plug up. It actually has 2 stages of air filtration. Snap the sides. Okay. We're going to push the brake lock forward just to get it out of the way of the cover. Release the other 3. Slide the cover off. This is an air injected saw, so 92% of all the debris is actually forced out from centrifugal force before it ever gets to the air filter. Okay. Here we have a pure foam air cleaner. I'll release the top here. You see it's just pure foam. We wash this with warm soap and water, and just take a paper towel and dry it with a paper towel, squeezing it. Replace it. Want to make sure that this is lined up in the proper spot and tightened. While we got this open, this is our compression release button. When we get to the starting procedures, this will be important for you. Just want to make sure you know what this is and where it's located at here. One thing in the field, if your handles are loose and stuff, one thing you can do in the field is either replace the rope or the handle if you need to, or tighten this up so it's not flopping like this. To do that, we release these 4 screws. I've already got them pretty much loose. Okay, we take it off, we pull out about half of the rope until we see this notch facing us here. The screwdriver, pull the rope up, put the rope in that notch, and we go against the force. Notice that it's all loose now, okay? So now we're going to go against the force of the spring and tighten it back up just by winding it. Hold it with your thumb. Okay, then we'll replace it back on the machine. When we put it up here, we want to give it just a little slight pull to put the dogs back in position. And we tighten back the 4 screws. Okay, these are the tools that are going to come with the saw itself. This is a grease gun. The grease gets filled into here and it acts as a plunger. This is actually used for this tip to be greased. Notice there's a little hole right here. I'm going to use a different greaser that we use in the shop. We put the tip of that into there and we plunge it. We normally like to put enough grease in it to where you can see the grease coming out of the edge up here. Okay. This works the same way, except the hole, you just hold it there and you just push it back and forth like this. Okay. That should be done after every use. You have your scrunch we already went over. You have 2 Allen wrenches. With these here, you can pretty much take the entire saw apart. So these are just some tools that you need out in the field to replace anything. That's about it on that. The bars, I wanted to go over the bars. When a bar gets wore on one side, you can always take the bar off and flip it over and start using the other side. But you notice this bar here is worn pretty good on this tip. It's gotten really hot, and you can see that there's a nice divot here. What we would do with this is we'd pop this rivet out and we would replace that. That would be something we do at the shop. It takes a few minutes to do it. But instead of throwing the entire bar away, all we do is just replace the tip. It saves you some money. This is kind of common when somebody's cutting in one spot all the time. We try to use a little bit more of the bar than just the one area. So this can be filed down, the edges. If you feel any edges up on this here, we take a file and we file those off so that they're nice and smooth again. Okay? Try to keep the top plate flat. So this is a replaceable tip, sprocket nose tip. You notice that it's pretty tight right here because they've gotten it hot and they have not greased it. Starting procedures for the PS16. We push the decompression button. It's this button right up here on top. Push that in, that releases the compression off the top of the cylinder head. We take the on-off switch, we pull the choke out, and that sets the on switch into the on position automatically. Okay, the saw will start at high RPMs, so once the saw starts, we'll have to kick it down to low RPMs. Okay, with the choke set like this, we take and we put our foot in the handle, brace our hand on the top of here, and then we pull it. Okay, once the saw fires one time, we stop, we push the choke back in. On-off switch is still in the on position, okay, and then we pull again. Once it's fired, but we have to remember to push the decompression valve again. Once it's fired, it pops the decompression valve automatically out. So push the decompression valve in, push the choke in, pull the starter, it should start the next time. And if you fled the saw for some reason, hold the saw upright at a 90-degree angle, push the decompression, take the on-off switch and put it in the off position and crank on it about 5 or 6 times. It will not start in this position, but what it does is it pushes all the fuel out of the cylinder head and down and out into the exhaust. Then we put this on-off switch back into the on position, and then we can start it normal again. Okay, here we have the 50-to-1 oil mix. We do not recommend anything less than 50-to-1. You can run a 40-to-1 mix, which is actually more oil, but we don't recommend like 100-to-1 synthetic oils with this. So you get your best performance at 50-to-1. So it is a 2-cycle engine. Your bar oil, in the wintertime we use a winter grade, which is a thinner oil lubricant, so it will actually lubricate the bar instead of overworking the pump. And to put that in, this is your oiler up here. If you can't get it by hand, you can take your... Okay. If you can't get this by hand loose, you can use your scrunch and loosen up this way. If you have gloves on it, sometimes that's the easiest way to do it. Do not over tighten it when you tighten it back on. Fill it to the top, put the cap back on, and again it's just hand tight, don't really crank down on it. Over here is the fuel cap. You see the little fuel station here. Do the same procedure.